Crazy to talk about inclusive growth in India because I don't know how many of you know, for the last 2,000 years of Western documented history, India was the most prosperous nation for 1,500 years. For another 300 years, we were the second most prosperous nation. And I don't know how many of you know that when we got independence in 1947, 1 rupee was equal to $3 US dollars. And now we know what 1 rupee is worth. Question is, what happened? That's a long history lesson, but let's look at where do we want to go going forward from now. So the vision that we are talking about is how do you bring inclusive growth, not just to catch up to the developed nations. You're looking at how do you bring inclusive growth so that you can leapfrog into the future. 10 years ago, India had the worst teledensity in the world. Today, we have one of the best in the world. How did that happen? Infusion of a simple technology called mobile phones, and immediately all this changed. The question is, what else can we do to convert this nation into a knowledge economy that is not held in the hands of a few, but it can be federated and it's available ubiquitously. So many people in the world see the opportunity that we have, and many have said that India will be a powerhouse, economic powerhouse, and so on and so forth. And there are predictions that India will outpace China from a growth perspective. However, we do have major challenges as well. The growth has not been as steady as we had hoped, and there are some structural fundamental challenges that we have in India. 3 areas that I want to focus on. I don't want to go through, I think Mr. Saxena did list out a whole lot of areas that we need to look at, but I won't go through the whole thing. I would focus on 3 essential groups of activities that we feel are fundamental to have India leapfrog into the future. One is skills development. Second is healthcare. Third is education at the grassroots level. So before we get into this huge question of what are these things, let's look at inclusive growth from a broad architectural perspective. So what you see before you is an architectural diagram that talks about a village. A village does not have to be a traditional village. It can be a 4th or a 5th level city. It could be an urban ghetto or a slum. In fact, it is any place where you don't have these essential 4 services. You don't have proper education, you don't have proper healthcare, you don't have a marketplace or skills development, and you don't have public services. If you don't have those places, that is a village. Question is, how do we enable that village so that it can become part of the national economy or even the global economy? We think there are 4 things that we need to do. We need to build strong partnerships with the government, with service providers, universities, NGOs, associations, industry associations. We also need to build human capital. Most architectures or most people who talk about inclusive growth, what they do is they talk about how do you sell people toothpaste, how do you sell them shampoos, how do you give them microcredit. We think that's the wrong way of looking at it. We believe the way we should be looking at it is how do we put money back in the rural systems. If you take money out of the rural systems by selling them more and more, you're essentially going to make those areas even poorer. So we need to look at how do you build the human capital over there and how do you make things more affordable and more prosperous in those areas. The third thing that you're looking at is affordable. I just noticed that you can't read it because it's white on white. I'm sorry about that. It's affordable business models. Affordable business models does not mean cheap. It means that you have to deliver technology or deliver these services in a manner that people can absorb, people can consume. And fourthly, the more important thing is how do you deliver them out of a cloud? Cloud technology will actually make delivery of these services very inexpensive, and it takes away the complexity from the rural areas and puts them in an area where you can get expert assistance. So with this architecture in mind, let's look at the issue of skills and labor mismatch. So by 2030, it is predicted that India will have almost half a billion unemployed youth. When people join the labor market or job market every year, only 8 million find jobs. So this is going to build up over a period of time and it's going to get worse. Only about 10% of the people have any college degrees. And even amongst them, 75% of those who get engineering degrees, and 85% who get non-engineering or non-professional degrees are not employable. Does not mean that people are stupid. People are actually very, very smart. The problem is we have an education system where there's a huge mismatch in terms of capabilities and abilities to finesse or close the individual so they can hit the job market running. And so we are going to show you some examples of how this can be done. What we've done is, in Kerala, we have a special purpose commercial network that specializes on skills development. We have connected up 34 ITIs and we provide them education remotely. Because why? Master trainers are hard to find. And even if you get master trainers, getting them to go from one place to the other will take a long time, and you're essentially wasting the time traveling and you're spending less time training. So essentially what we've done is we used our technology. I'll show you a video in the next slide on how this is done. We're not only talking about classroom kind of an environment, this can also be done in a workshop environment as well. Other thing that we are going to do is we are going to be launching an auxiliary nursing network in Bihar. So this is going to be used to train auxiliary nurses in Bihar. And again, the expert trainers to train nurses is in short supply, equipment is in short supply, and people are all over the place. So question is, how do you train them remotely? In Karnataka, we worked with the government of Karnataka to train unemployed youth and in hospitality and in accounting. Good news is that all the people who got trained got jobs, and they were all done remotely. And otherwise they would have never been able to get these jobs. We are also now working with some NGOs to provide remote training, technical training for orphans. We are working with the Indian Army to train soldiers leaving the Army. There are 50,000 soldiers who leave the Army every year and 50,000 new cadets who join the Army every year. So we are working with them as well to train them to resettle as well as train them to onboard on technology. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides, or rather videos, very short videos, to show you how this technology works. Can you hear? Yes?
Hello Jabalpur, can you hear me? Hi, good morning. I'm Dakshesh Patwa here from Cisco. Today I'm going to talk about TCP/IP model.
Good afternoon. I hope you're doing good. How is your day so far?
नमस्ते, मैं लक्ष्मी हूँ सिस्को से। आज मैं स्विचिंग के बारे में बताने वाली हूँ।
So your TCP/IP model is also a different kind of model for the networking.
BGP model plus UDP model, both are logically TCP physically.
Yes, आपका क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छा है.
Today we will start this session for the trunk port versus access port. That is one session, and the second session is BTP. I assume that by now you would be familiar with trunking concept, VLAN concept. Is there any question?
Before PBX in 26 is separate. That is now I have some confusion.
So what you see is that the
knowledge we are gaining will definitely help us for resettlement after we are retiring from army.
So what you saw is, these were engineers. So this is the pilot that we did with the Army. So engineers in Cisco, Bangalore, who actually develop the products, develop the technology, and who actually implement the technologies, volunteered that time to teach people in the army who were leaving the army about networking. So they got into 2 months of training, 1 month of basic computers that partner delivered, and another month of training from Cisco experts to the army. Very interactive. The site was in Jabalpur. The training was from Bangalore. So let's look at one other video.
India is soon going to be the youngest nation on earth, with more than half its population being youth. But it is also true that the growing gap between employment and employability will leave about 550 million unemployed youth in the country.
Village students and city students have a lot of difference. So, we have an inferiority complex.
Now there is a definite disconnect between education and employment. There is no dearth of employment, but employability can be enhanced through skill development.
A revolutionary solution that has been implemented between Bangalore and Hoskote is generating much excitement and hope among students and the industry alike. This solution is aided by technology provided by Cisco, a global giant in networking and connectivity. It uses the power of video, audio, and networking to achieve the impossible. To the vast resource-hungry rural India, it provides direct access to the latest and the best. This truly creates more opportunities and a level playing field.
Hi, I'm Radhika Rao. I do training for Cisco, which is a virtual training for students from Hoskote. The topics that are being covered are hospitality, personality development, and spoken English, with a little bit of communication and etiquettes. Hi, good morning. Shall we start? Cleaning of public areas.
So if you notice, the language is Kannada. It's language independent.
Practicing for first aid, Alright? Cleaning of public areas andre ಏನು? Normal ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತೀವೋ ಆ ತರನೇ ಇರಿ. So please answer. Of course, yes, kitchen. Kitchen clean ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೋಟೆಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಾ? So all this, if you don't do proper cleaning, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ?
ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಾಲಿಟಿ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಅದರಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಹೋಟೆಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಆಗ್ತೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೂ ಡೌಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ.
We have students attending these classes regularly. They come attend the sessions in the morning and then they attend their regular college sessions. And we also understand from the trainers that the kids are doing really good. They are very keen on learning new things. They are improving in their spoken English and the tally packages. So they are very keen on learning these new things.
I think there is no difference between a classroom training and a virtual classroom training. So the impact of the training program is 100% relevant to the industry standards.
I am very happy that organization like Cisco has understood the ground reality, and with their expertise and the technological provider at the global level, they have rightly understood that the intervention of Cisco can provide the best qualitative training.
So that is...
if you were to create...
Let me see. So we talked about two classroom kind of training models, right? So now what we're going to... Unfortunately, I don't have the video for it because I couldn't get the video in time. What we are now going to show a couple of photographs is about how do you train people to fix a motor? Okay, so imagine most of the time what happens is when you're teaching somebody about lathes, there'll be 2-3 rows of people, students who will be standing around a lathe, and only the first row would get to see anything. The rest of the guys would not get to see anything at all. So what we have done is through technology now, you can now bring in multiple ITIs, people from everywhere, who can then look at the kind of training that you would get as if you were doing it yourself. So you see the trainer there, and there are about 4 other centers which have joined, looking at how do you put together or service an engine. So on the healthcare side, you know, there are big issues. People have to typically travel the entire day to go somewhere to talk to a doctor and get something like a crocin. What we have done is we have connected up the primary healthcare center to the district healthcare centers and to a tertiary center, super specialty hospital as well. So the villagers at the village level could get super specialty and specialty care. So let's go. Over the last 11 months now in India, you know, there have been more than 60 pilots that have been launched. Almost none of them are active and surviving. When we launched this pilot about 11 months ago, since then, we have had 22,000 specialty and super specialty consultations. Specifically, 50% of the people who attend are women and children, two groups who do not get these kinds of care. As I said, so I'm going to show you a very quick video that talks about how this is done.
There's definitely a shortage of doctors and shortage of specialists in India. So many diseases getting neglected, underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed and not diagnosed.
ಈಗ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ರಾಯಚೂರಿಗೆ ಸಿಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು. ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ 30 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಸಿಟಿ. ಪೂರ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮನಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ದೂರ ಹೋಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
रिस्क जाना पड़ता था, ऐसे दो बहुत दूर होता, तकलीफ होता.
What you're going to see is a video of a video.
In problems?
ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗಿಂದನೇ ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ರಿಟಾರ್ಡೇಷನ್ ತರ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹುಡುಗ. ಹುಟ್ಟಿದಾಗಿಂದನೇ ಏನೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೆ. ತನ್ನ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಹೇಳಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
ಓಕೆ, ಕೈಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಟ ಆಡಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ?
ಒಂದು ಕೈ ಮಾತ್ರ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಮೆದುಳಿಂದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರ್ಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಫಿಸಿಯೋಥೆರಪಿ ಅರೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
With providing medical services to the periphery of the country, and technology is the answer. We find the Cisco platform to...
Sorry, if you, I just paused it for a second. So if you notice, there is a nurse on the other end, and she didn't know where to place the stethoscope. The doctor on the other hand is telling her where to keep it so that she can hear actually the heartbeat and sounds.
Be extremely robust and versatile for the delivery of such high-end telemedicine services as we hope to provide.
Every session we spend like 2 hours.
This type of systems which are manufactured by the Cisco people, definitely it will be a boon to the people and it will add more on healthcare system in our backward district. It is a real surprise to the people sitting at the village level. They can have an assessment of their health system from the super specialty hospitals, and it will be an add-on thing to the government agency.
So again, what we do is the medium is this. You have video as a primary mechanism of interchange between people. It's not audio anymore. People want to see doctors. People want the doctors to see them. People want the doctors to touch them and smell them and all that. So those are two areas that we can't still have people touch somebody remotely. But you can still have all the things that the doctors would do remotely that they would do if they were in that particular room. Third area that I want to briefly touch on is education. So in India, you have one teacher for 40 students, according to government statistics. But the real number is probably close to 80 because para-teachers and assistants and everybody is included as a teacher. 29% of our schools have single teachers there. The same teacher teaches across grades, teaches across subjects. Then how can we make each village or each child part of a knowledge network or a knowledge nation? We can't. So we need to look at it something different. And India alone has about the Indian subcontinent has about 500 million children. So the complexity of the numbers and the data and the distances that we have to be dealt with. So what did we do? So I'm going to show you a video on how we have solved this problem. We have an MOU with the government of Karnataka where we are present in 3 districts. and we deal with 9 schools and 2 hostels. These are hostels that are 4 hostels. These are hostels for SC/ST children and for minority children. With the regular school, we provide them supplementary education over and above what they get in class. This supplements areas that they haven't understood. With the hostels, what we do is we do intervention education, where we actually give them like tuition classes remotely. What we can say is that over the last 1 year that we have done, the grades of these kids have gone up, absenteeism has dropped, there's almost no dropout from schools. Kids who have actually left schools have rejoined, and they're very, very excited. So let me show you a very quick video on what the solution looks like.
On a bright Monday morning, students and teachers are getting ready for another day. Children line up in the classroom as teachers prepare their subjects and ready themselves to answer queries. Through this interface, teachers reach out to hundreds of students at the same time.
So what you see here, sorry, I've got to pause again. You see different classes over here, and there'll be a better video that will show up. Each class shows up as a tile. The teacher can go select any tile, and they would see a larger view of the class, like you saw in the picture there. Teacher can show any content here. It could be video, it could be a picture, it could be a PowerPoint, Word, whatever document that you have, and she could show it there, and it's very, very interactive.
Students become part of a larger community.
Imagine if you can open this up where you bring in 3 other classes.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ. ನಾನು 8ನೇ ತರಗತಿ ಓದುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಊರಿನ ಹೆಸರು ಎಲೆಬಿಚ್ಚಲಿ. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಬಂದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ. ನಾನು ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ 3 ದಿನ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್, ಗಣಿತ, ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ, ಸಮಾಜ ಕಲಿತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಾನು ದೊಡ್ಡವಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಟೀಚರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಕೋ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕೋಚಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಂತರ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸುಧಾರಿಸಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತೀನಿ.
Cisco technology has certainly induced the children to take interest in learning. The teachers who are observing this process, they can improve their skills. If we extended this system, this Cisco technology to other school children will definitely take interest.
So one of the things that we've done is using the same network, we've also trained about 300 teachers across all the districts that we are in. The interesting thing is, not a single teacher was absent for the entire course. Normally what happens is people come in there, they sign, and they don't show up the next day. Not a single teacher was absent. In fact, every feedback that we got was this is the best training they've had in their career. So I want to leave you with this view. Several UN studies and several studies have said that network is the enabler for how countries need to leap forward and grow their economies. Definitely, skills development, education, and healthcare are 3 pivots that are most crucial, not to mention that there are other things as well. One of the areas that we did not talk about that was in the architecture is public services. Public services can be delivered out of the network. Unfortunately, there is no sustainable business model for it. So I'll leave it with that thought, and then we'll go take up other discussions.